So what do you do when God says no? So I went to the doctor and I was having some fluids, and he's like, it's probably nothing, because I had an ulcer clash, of course. And he decided to check me. When he was done, he's like, oh, you have to go in the hospital. So I'm like, okay, probably next week or something like that. So he's like, no, today. I'm like, what? I'm gonna have to go in the hospital for the next 7 to 8 weeks. I mean, who's gonna pay that bill? So I was like, okay, I gotta go in the hospital. So I had to get things together. Of course, I have a toddler to care for, so I went in the hospital. It was a journey. I had to sit there and wait for a room, and then it was just hard being there. And I'm like, oh, I'm pregnant. I'm a little whiny, so you know, I kind of like.
That's expected.
So, I got a room, and I had really nice nurses. Every morning my doctor came in and he checked with me and everything. And I also had a perinatologist. So I remember her coming to me and she's like, you know, because of what's happening, you're prone to getting an infection that could cost you your life and the baby's life. She was just talking, and I was like, I am not receiving that. I was just like, and then she's like, oh, I'm sorry to bring this up, but I have to tell you that, you know, if give you the option of doing a termination. I'm like, what? No, that's not an option. I am carrying this baby. But also, I had a lot of people praying for me while I was in the hospital. I had a lot of people praying for me, and people I don't even know praying for me, and I'm so grateful. And God has just been placing everything, lining up everything the right way, and you know, it was just a happy moment. Okay, I'm gonna do this for the next 7 to 8 weeks. I'm fine, I'm good. So I was there, and I remember I was there for almost 2 weeks. They never did a blood test. They never did an ultrasound, but they were checking the baby's heartbeat every 4 hours. And I remember this particular night, it was a Thursday night, and about midnight, and he just kept moving. And I'm wondering, why is he moving so much? Anyway, he eventually stopped, and it was life as usual. They came to check his heartbeat. They heard a heartbeat about midday, like about 1. They checked his heartbeat, and it was like 142, and I'm like, that's kind of low, because his heartbeat is usually high 150s, 160s. And she's like, it's normal. It's probably normal. It's that happens. I guess it was within range. I have no idea what within range is. But by 4, 5, 6 o'clock, they came, and she couldn't find his heartbeat. And she's like, she found a heartbeat, it's 120. I'm like, no, that must be my heartbeat. If that's his heartbeat, something is wrong. So I'm like, I need an ultrasound. I mean, they never did an ultrasound. So now I'm like, I need an ultrasound. So they trying to find a heartbeat. They can't find any heartbeat. My husband was with me at this time, and they brought me into this room to do the sonogram, whatever, X-ray, ultrasound. So I couldn't see the screen. Of course, I think that was deliberate. But I remember being there, and I was cold. And I asked for warm blankets, and they kept bringing me warm blanket, and I was still cold. And I said to my husband, I'm cold, like I'm going into hypothermia, like I couldn't get warm. I'm like, this is ridiculous, like what is happening? But I just thought I was being anxious or nervous or something. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm there shaking and shaking. I'm like, make it stop. And he's like, calm down, come on. I'm trying, I can't calm down. And they did the ultrasound. So I said to him, is the baby okay? He's like, he doesn't know. Like, you were looking at the screen. He was looking at the screen the whole time. He's like, do you know if the baby's okay? He's like, I don't know. So I'm like, okay. I just felt like it wasn't good news. And I waited for probably like 2-3 hours for a doctor to come down and say, okay, we didn't get a heartbeat. Okay. So now, I was here in the hospital in your care for almost 2 weeks, and I end up with a stillborn. And I'm like, how did I end up with a stillborn? This should not have happened. I can understand that the baby might not have lived, but should not have died inside me. Then the doctor's like, oh, do you want us to do a C-section or do you want to push? And I'm like, I don't want to have to get a C-section, to live with a C-section after I don't have a child. So I'm like, I'll push. Then I thought about it about half an hour later, and I'm like, you know what? Just cut me and just be over with it. So I told them that I do the C-section. Okay, and they took forever again. I don't know why they take so long. Doctors take long to make a decision. They took forever to prep me and to do that. It probably took about 3 hours. At this point, I was like, I was lethargic. I was kind of unresponsive. Then they came for blood. So the first time I've been there almost 2 weeks, they didn't come for any blood. Now they brought bottles. I was like, where are you going with that? And they're like, make a fist. I'm like, I don't even have the energy to make a fist. I'm like, I was trying to make a fist. That was the hardest fist I ever had to make. But I was there, and I don't know how they draw the blood because I don't remember. But I remember them taking me to do the C-section now. And they did the epidural. And that was it. I don't remember anything else. You're supposed to be awake for a C-section. I have no idea what happened. I remember waking up in recovery, and they had, I guess they were done with the C-section and everything, and they brought one of the nurses said, you want to hold the baby? And I'm like, yes. And I held him. He was swaddled, and I wanted to take off the swaddling to look at his whole body. I didn't have the strength to do it. I remember holding him, and I guess I passed out. I opened my eyes again, and he was rolled down on my leg. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at the poor baby. And I didn't have the strength to even pick him up. By this time, I realized my blood pressure was low, like both was reading under 50. How does that happen? But I thought it was normal. I felt okay. I felt peace. Somehow I felt peace. I never cried. Peace is the most important aspect of life. Peace of mind in all situations and circumstances is what we need, especially when we face trials and tribulations, death in our families. I've realized that going through this tragic time in my life, God gave me His peace. His peace is the reason I smile. I am joyful. I am optimistic. I'm hopeful. I'm grateful. And now I can share that hope that I have in Christ Jesus. Sometimes God's answer to our prayer is simply peace. He may not answer the way we want Him to, but He will give us His peace. Essentially, that's exactly what we need. God's peace can cover misunderstandings, pain, heartache, and in the midst of a trial, you can be going through it and still be able to sleep at night because God has given you that peace. You can smile. You can be optimistic. You can be grateful because you have His peace, which equates to contentment. A content of mind is the world of happiness. And then the nurse guy came to me and she's like, oh, we're gonna take you to ICU. And I'm like, okay. Like I care. When you hear somebody's going to ICU, they're critical. They're near dying. That's not me. So they're moving me now, and I'm trying to see where I'm going because my husband had left at this time, and he went to change and, you know, freshen up and eat something and come back. So I'm looking where I'm going, and I saw this sign, cardiovascular ICU. So I'm like, cardiovascular? That's something with heart. Why are they taking me to a heart ICU? Oh, they probably don't have anywhere to put me. Because that's usually my thing. I have to go out the hospital and I have to wait. Oh, they don't have anywhere to put me. So I'm like, okay. And I went there, and they gave me blood. I think it's 2 bags of blood. And they gave me another, a bag of blood cultures, I guess. I remember my sister coming to look for me, and I'm like, look at my hands. I had IV here, IV here, IV here. I'm afraid of needles. I got poked so many times. And I was in ICU, and I remember being tired, and I'm like, anybody come? And my sister, she was such a darling. She came and she fed me. I'm like, can you feed me? Because I just never had the strength. I don't know why I didn't have the strength, but I was like, and at this point, I still never cried. I'm just like taking it one day at a time. I had this calmness, really. I was just calm. I was just going with the flow. The doctors came in. They did what they needed to do. And eventually I came out of ICU. I think it was, because this happened, the C-section was sometime early Saturday morning. And I came out of ICU about the Monday or the Tuesday. So at that time, they had to be doing everything for me. I couldn't see myself. Then, when I could finally see myself, I had cold sore. Cold sore all over my lip. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm kind of a little vain. Like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I have yas. Anything unfamiliar, I call yas. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm like, I said to the nurse, I need something for this. Now, I don't understand. You're seeing me. Didn't you think it was necessary to give me something for it? I couldn't breathe properly, and I had to ask for that. I don't remember the name, but it's something to open your lungs. And you know, it's good to be in tune with your body, because it could have been a situation. I think if I never asked for that ultrasound and insisted, it might have gotten worse. But they took forever, of course, to give me something for the yes. It was cold, so of course my immune system went down. There was infection in my blood, and it was like almost a week later, because I had a whole bunch of doctors coming in, and this one keep coming in and saying, your heart isn't squeezing right. I'm like, so something's wrong with my heart? Oh, that's why I went to cardiovascular ICU.
Oh, no.
So I had no clue that something was wrong with my heart. I'm like, wow, okay. And he's like, we're gonna put you on some medication. And he was really serious. Like he's like, and I'm like, you look more worried than I feel that I'm worried. But I was just going along. Apparently there was a TV in ICU, and I love to watch TV, and it wasn't on. I said to my sister, was the TV on? She's like, no. I'm like, how did I survive without that TV? I'm like, how did I even survive without the TV? But, you know, and I kept listening to music, gospel music, every morning. I'd play them. I had my devotions, and I just kept going. And they had to be checking my blood all the time. And I noticed my hands, they're white, because of course there's a blood issue. You know, my blood pressure was really low. And my husband sent me, this is just about a week later, the following Friday, he sent me a clip of my son. And he was like, I want to talk to her, I want to talk to her. Mommy, I love you. And I just lost it.
Wow.
So that was the first time I actually cried. I looked at my hands. I could see blood. I felt warm, like, okay, blood is coming. I'm like, it's like I came alive, like I came awake. I never cried. This was the first time I'm crying. And this is a week later. It's the first time I cried. And I just felt like I came back to being normal. And after that, I couldn't stop crying. Every day I cried. Every day I cried. And I'm like, oh, so now I can't stop crying. Oh my gosh. But one of the doctors came in and he's like, you're doing this well? Because, yeah, I'm getting better. I'm recovering. He's like, you're doing this well because you're otherwise healthy. I didn't do drugs, I didn't smoke, I didn't drink, I didn't have any preconditions like diabetes or hypertension. So, you know, I was pretty much doing well. And of course, my beloved sister is so popular in this. She told me about another female that had the same thing and lost both arms and legs. And I was like, okay. I didn't really, I've never heard the story before. And, you know, I got so much antibiotics. They had to put a line in my arm to give me those antibiotics. And I ended up getting a blood clot. So that's something else I have to think about, because I have to be on blood thinner for the next 6 months. Yes. So currently I'm on blood thinner, and this is a whole new world for me. I didn't even know the side effects. If you get bruised, I can't get bruised, I can't get a cut, because I'll potentially just keep bleeding. It's horrible, but I'm alive. I remember being there, and I looked, my tongue felt funny. I looked in the mirror, I'm like, where are the white stuff on my tongue? It's like, I saw this big purple thing, and I'm like, what happened? Something's wrong with me. So I said to the nurse, what's wrong with my tongue? And she's like, you know, you have the good bacteria on your tongue. If there's too much, then there's a problem. But there's good bacteria there. And she's like, because you've gotten so much antibiotics, it just killed everything. I did not know there was a possibility for your tongue to not have those white things. And I appreciate them now, because everything I ate was, if it's sweet, it's too sweet.
Wow. Okay.
If it's salty, it's too salt. Like, I remember ordering something for lunch and I couldn't eat it because it was just too salt. But, you know, it's been a process. It's been a journey. I finally came out and I was like, I was so happy. However, I had to see an infectious disease doctor because my blood had infection from the stillborn. Actually, it wasn't from the stillborn. I got sepsis. I initially went in the hospital because I had a bulging membrane. This means my inside was exposed. So I got that infection. The infection killed the baby. I was about to take my life.
Wow.
So when I was feeling, and I even called my doctor because I wasn't under his care at the time. So it's a week later, I called him and I told him what happened. He's like, he didn't know. So nobody informed him that your patient, you know, lost the baby. And when I was telling him what happened, he mentioned sepsis. Of course, nobody told me what infection it was, or it's like hush hush. Nobody wants to tell me what happened. I had to be asking questions. What happened? How'd the baby die? Like, what really happened? And I was talking to another friend and she mentioned sepsis as well. Like, okay, so I'm like, okay, what is this sepsis thing? So I went to good old Google and I found out what sepsis was. And one of it's not side effects, one of the symptoms was you feel like you're going into hypothermia. So I'm thinking, I was already going into septic shock. Didn't anyone notice to act on this quicker? Like, this is an emergency now, do something. So when they came to me for blood at this time, I couldn't do anything. I'm like, oh, I'm out of it. My body was actually shutting down. My heart was shutting down. My blood was infected. And they took so long to correct the whole thing. So between the time that they didn't hear a heartbeat to the time the C-section was done was probably like 6 hours. Oh. So you had me there dying before you actually did something. But you know what? I serve an amazing God.
Yes.
Amen. And the journey after that was difficult. I remember after eventually coming home and I'm like, I have to go see an infectious disease doctor, a regular doctor, a cardiologist, a hematologist because I have the blood clot, and so many things going on. I'm like, I think I was taking 6 pills at a time, and I'm like, I have to be doing this. But eventually, I read the story of the girl that lost. She had the same exact thing.
Wow.
Same exact thing that I had. She had a bulging membrane, but hers was far along,
Right.
further along. She was vomiting and thought it was the cold, the flu she's having. She went into the hospital. They had to induce coma. And when she woke up 2 weeks later, gangrene had taken over, and she lost both arms and legs. And I was like, wow, I shouldn't complain.
True.
Because I still have my limbs.
Yeah.
So when I came out, I was looking, the whole time I was actually in the hospital for like 5 weeks. And I look at my toes and I'm like, my toes need to get done. And a voice said, you should be lucky you have toes to complain about. So I'm like, okay, let me not complain about anything. But as I said, the journey wasn't easy. I wake up in the night and I'd cry, but my husband was very supportive. And, he helped me through it. And I just kept replaying everything in my head, like, what happened? How could I have prevented it? And I would just cry. It was a depressing time.
Wow.
And, but God.
As I recently learned from one of my favorite pastors, Pastor Stephen Furtick, that I should turn my sorrow into strength. You see, God does not promise us that life will be all good. Some things will be good, some great, and some bad. If you've ever lived a little while, if you've ever lost anything, if you've ever been hurting but had to smile, if you've ever had something to celebrate about and wait till it's all good in your life, to give God praise and to be happy and to celebrate victories and to have peace in your heart, to enjoy what God has given you, you never will. So don't wait, because it's never all good. So whether something is dying or being born, God is superintendent in my life, and He sees every loss and every gain, and He measures all my pain and just knows when to fulfill any order that's on my life. So my sorrow produces my strength. So why do we go through such pain and sorrow? How do we find the strength? But what if great strength is born out of sorrow? Perhaps real strength is ever born out of real sorrow. Perhaps the greatest trial you've ever gone through in your life are the very things that God uses to fortify the greatest strengths in your life. Your sorrow today can become your strength for tomorrow. Tears you're crying today might water the seeds that's gonna come forth in your life and bring forth something great.
Because so many people go through depression and not come out of it.
Right.
And this could have caused me to even possibly take my own life. But I still had people praying for me. I still had friends that encouraged me. I did have a friend that gave me a book. What's the name of the book?
Battlefield of the Mind.
Yes, because your mind plays tricks. And if you allow the devil to find that loophole, he's gonna keep digging. And you don't know what you're gonna do after that. But God,
Amen.
He kept me through. I remember actually going to church 1 month later. I was in heels. By this time, I was, let's say, mentally 60% better. So 6 weeks after, I was 60% better.
And you were jumping in church.
Yes. I was in heels. I was like, my girlfriend's like, are you okay? Can you wear heels? I'm like, I'm fine. But I mean, despite the fact that the C-section was botched, I have no idea what I did. But that is another story. But I also had hematoma around the C-section area. So I came out of the hospital the Saturday. I had to be at my OB the Monday because the C-section it was hard around it, and it was bleeding. So it was bleeding at one side. Then the other side decided that it needs to be even, like one side.
Together.
Yeah.
So I went to my doctor, and he's like, well, there's nothing we can do about it. You just have to clean it and put Neosporin. And I'm like, I have to nurse a C-section, like, really? So every morning I had to clean it. Every morning and evening I was there cleaning it, putting on Neosporin and putting on a gauze. And I'm like, I never had to do this with my last C-section. It was all well and good. But I guess what my body was going through, it was very difficult. But as I got better emotionally, and I found strength. Honestly, I never read that book.
That's okay.
But God gave me the strength. God gave me that strength to pull through and to make it through. I remember when I went back to church, a lady came over and she hugged me and she's like, do you know how many people have been through what you've been through and don't come out standing? And I'm like, wow. So every day I find a reason to be positive, to be optimistic. I know I can be very pessimistic, but nowadays, tell me your situation and I'll help you find the positive things to be grateful for. So now I'm just like, let me just be grateful. Let me just be grateful for everything. Things could have been worse. I could have been, 6 feet under. But God. And I feel like I bounced back really quick. I couldn't look in the box that they gave me, a keepsake box with pictures of him. And I was like, I can't look in that box. How am I going to cope with this? I wanted to look in the box. It's like a candy that you want to eat, but you shouldn't. I was like, I was scared. I was afraid. And then I eventually did. This was probably 2 months after I looked at the box. And I cried. But now the box is a box. It's a reminder of what God has brought me from where I am today. I just kept being positive and being hopeful that God has a plan, that this axle that I should have had is a turning around of something. So I really believe that God has a plan for my life and he's working something out. And this baby was not in vain. He has plans. So even though I had a stillborn and that baby died, there is still hope. There is still life. And it's been 4 months, 4 months since it all happened. And I'm smiling. A lot of people don't even know that I had a stillborn because God has given me that joy.
It is important to maintain a relationship with Christ. So when the hurdles in life comes, and trust me, they will come, you'll be able to stand on his words and promises. You can be like Job and come out of your situation victorious. However, you have to read your Bible and pray every day. This is the only way to maintain that relationship with him. You'll be able to know his voice. You can discern when he's speaking to you. In his word, you can find strength, peace, hope, courage, faith, love, and so much more.
So what about the persons who don't know God, who don't have friends that will pray for them? So you have to make sure that iron sharpens iron. You gotta make sure that you surround yourself with people who will pray for you no matter what. People who have your back, people who will come visit you, who will talk with you, who will keep you motivated. And I remember my sister calling me and she was gonna cry. I'm like, don't cry. If you're gonna cry, I'm gonna hang up the phone. She started crying. I'm like, boop. I just hung up the phone because I'm like, if you cry, I'm gonna start crying and I can't stop. So don't cry around me. But I think by 2 months, I was 90% okay. And now I'm okay with it. I'm okay talking about it. It's difficult, and a lot of people might say, how can she do that? You just lost a child. You just lost a baby that you were bonding with, that you felt him kick, you felt him move, you couldn't wait to meet him. And now that's not going to happen. So what do you do when God says no? When you're praying for a child and it doesn't happen, do you just give up? Do you just quit? Do you just say, oh, God doesn't care, he doesn't love me because he doesn't want me to have this? And there's so many things that we're praying for and we're hoping for, but God says no. What do you do? Life still goes on. There's so many things to be hopeful for. You have people that love you, you're healthy, there's just so many things to be grateful for. And we just have to literally count our blessings. And I mean, I've started counting my blessings. So before I complain, I find something to be grateful for. I find something to be hopeful for and to be positive for. Because bottom line is, once there's life, there's hope.
Yes.
If you're dead,
there's no
hope. That's the end. So it's just a moment to be grateful and thankful that God has made so many things possible. I have life. I have strength. I'm healthy. And even for that female that is now a quadriplegic, there's still hope.
Yeah.
There's still hope. I read her story. They were getting prosthetics for her hands and foot. So there is still hope. Life comes with challenges all the time. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some.
Yeah.
But just remember, you have to be faithful to God. You have to continue trusting him and believing him and know that he's got your back. So with me here today is my sister, Abby McDonald. Then there's my beloved mother. She's been my backbone, my prayer warrior, my everything. She's just my queen, my hero. Then there's Reverend Carla. You always need a pastor friend, trust me. Then there's my true homies, Celine and Simone. They're just those friends that you cannot live without. Then we have Miss Jen, who is a dear friend of the family, who's actually just hearing my story for the first time, but she's a sweetheart. Thank you for being here.
So as you continue through life, may his peace be with you.